Hello everyone. Welcome to my Omnia Vincit Dialectica podcast. Today we will be talking about a quite interesting topic. We'll be talking about water diplomacy. But we will be looking into water diplomacy from a specific standpoint, namely the context of transboundary freshwaters. And more precisely, I want to tell you about how water diplomacy, in the context of a freshwater river basin, for instance, can be positively guided by complexity science and the negotiation theory. In presence of transboundary freshwater issues and challenges, one can usually observe an interface between water systems and water governance and management issues. By water systems, I mean the physical, natural, biological, geological, and chemical water systems within a transboundary river basin or lake or wetland or aquifer. By water governance and management issues or disputes, I mean cross-border political and social water governance and management issues or dispute within the same transboundary river basin, lake, wetland, or aquifer. This interface between water systems and water governance and management issues constitutes a complex, dynamic, adaptive, self-organizing, natural social coupled water system, which is characterized by three features. First, the interdependence and interconnectedness between elements, uncertainties, processes, and feedbacks within this constantly evolving, complex, dynamic, adaptive, self-organizing, natural social coupled water system I just mentioned. Secondly, this coupled water system is also characterized by the uncertainty of information, action, perception, and related feedback. Lastly, this complex, dynamic, adaptive, self-organizing, natural social coupled water system is characterized by the fact that it is hard to predict. It's characterized by the fact that it shows spontaneous emergence of new qualities and properties, for instance, qualitative leap due to control parameters reaching critical quantitative threshold within such coupled water system. In order to address transboundary freshwater issues and challenges adequately in presence of such a complexity, a well thought out transboundary freshwater diplomacy framework is necessary. So now that we've defined this complex, dynamic, adaptive, self-organizing, natural social coupled water system that is both a natural system and a political system, in other words, more simply put, now we need to define what transboundary freshwater diplomacy means. Transboundary freshwater diplomacy is a dynamic process linking foreign policy and diplomacy with fresh waters shared between states, countries. It's a process of inherently political interaction and cooperation across multiple diplomacy tracks and sectors in both formal and informal settings. Actual water diplomacy actions typically vary across multiple tracks and scales. This diplomatic process aims to prevent, mitigate, and resolve disagreements, tensions, and conflicts in order to ensure cooperation, regional stability, and peace. These conflicts are typically related to surface and underground freshwater resources planning, management, allocation, and use by and between state or government actors, but also private actors within the transboundary river basins, lakes, wetlands, and/or aquifers. These conflicts also include situations in which user groups have competing uses for scarce water resource that can lead to disagreements. Indeed, amongst those competing groups, different understandings can exist as to whether the shared water resource should be developed for such or such purpose, for unilateral economic gains, or for mutual benefit. Communities do not always agree on this. In case of such disagreements, this entails a destabilization of those communities, countries, or regions. This diplomatic process aims to prevent, mitigate, and resolve disagreements, tensions, and conflicts through the simultaneous use of, first, diplomatic instruments, engagement tools, and cooperation mechanisms, such as the organization of joint fact-finding missions. Second, through the use of water-related know-how and knowledge on shared waters and related technical resources. For instance, technical fact-finding like information on hydrology, water quantity and quality, water timing, hydrological models, and impact assessments. Thus, to summarize, transboundary freshwater diplomacy means measures, actions, dialogue, communication, coordination, negotiation, and related joint fact-finding, resource mobilization, and technical management by and between state and private actors, which are undertaken to prevent or peacefully resolve emerging conflicts and facilitate cooperation related to shared freshwater availability, allocation, or use between these government and private stakeholders within transboundary river basins, lakes, wetlands, and aquifers. We can add that it is also helpful if the negotiation theory underpins this transboundary freshwater diplomacy framework in the presence of a complex transboundary freshwater issue and challenge. Indeed, the negotiation theory focuses on parties' deep interests rather than stated position to identify potential trade-offs and opportunities for mutual gains. Secondly, the negotiation theory helps detect sources of bias. It also helps identify objective criteria, and it helps answer questions like what if. And lastly, it helps build nearly self-enforcing agreements between countries that share a transboundary river, for instance. The elements from the negotiation theory that can be used and applied within the transboundary freshwater diplomacy framework include, first, stakeholder identification and engagement. Second, joint fact-finding dispute resolution tool to jointly collect, analyze data, and increase trust, consensus, and cooperation between the parties. And lastly, the negotiation theory helps because it provides mutual value creation by generating viable options and opportunities for all parties negotiating. Basically, it provides a win-win solution.